Michael, what's up, man?
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. A Saturday night, coming off two wins, one last night, one tonight. Kyle, you see what I have right here in front of my face, right? A big W.
Yeah,
Two of
I do.
these, two of these. However, one of these has to go, and that's the second W in Marquez's last name. I can't wait to get back to listening to the dulcet tones of Brady Labor next week when the Norse return back to BB&T, and we can get the homegrown broadcast team. I don't know how many times I shook my head at the mention of Marquez Warwick when he would score. Kind of gets to show you the kind of quality of broadcasting teams that we get when we go on the road.
Oh my God, I'm not gonna get. I don't want to just railroad these guys, but it's so funny. I mean, I did the same thing with Cleveland State last year. Maybe this is just maybe I have too good of a heart, or like I want so much for people to succeed. But 5 minutes into the game, I was like, man, these guys aren't bad. I could listen to these. Oh, he said Warwick. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. A producer's gonna tell him. He'll fix it. He won't do this again. Oh nope, there it is again. Okay. Well, it can't. There's no way it's going to continue into the second half, right? Oh no, he just said it 5 times. Okay, but the next game, there's no way, right? Crazy. But so you had your show and tell. This is my show and tell.
Nice.
I'm gonna
Cheers.
have a celebratory crack and sip Friday and Saturday for both games. And believe it or not, it wasn't my experience with COVID-19 or having to wear a mask at Disney or anything like that that ruined it for me. It was the Norse losing both games to IUPUI. Like they ruined Disney World for me. How do you do that? I don't know how you do that.
It's the happiest place on earth, Kyle.
It's supposed to be. Yeah, I should have thrown my phone into the water at the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. That's for sure. But anyway, yeah. So here we are on game night tonight, jumping in right after the win because we really wanted to talk. And Mike, I don't really want to waste any time setting this up. Let's just go right into it. We hammered home the point, and Larry's been doing it. He's been pretty much the biggest disciple of this philosophy. Get the ball in the paint, around the paint. I don't care, anywhere in the paint, to quote him from last week's show.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the Norse really made that a part of their game plan. Maybe not as much tonight, or at least maybe it was taken away more so tonight than it was last night. But I would say the weekend as a whole, if you're lumping both games into one, 1 point, it felt like that was really an emphasis that the Norse had this week in the game plan.
Definitely. Starting with Friday night's game, I think you saw much better energy on both ends of the floor. I think during our game chat on Norse Nation, I made comment to that it was nice to finally see activity on the defensive end with deflections and, just more aggressive defense. On the offensive end, we weren't as perimeter based. We were driving the ball. We were dishing the ball. To that point, overall, we had 16 total assists Friday night. When's the last time we had 16 total team assists? I mean, it was showing that they were sharing the ball. People were scoring. In terms of a major highlight Friday night, I think we can both agree, David Bam. I mean, I think he probably had the game of his young career that night, scoring from the field, down low. Future's nothing but bright with this young man as well. But I think one last thing on the game Friday night, we placed 4 guys in double figures in the scoring column. And that shows that it wasn't just being reliant on one player. 4 guys were able to score and put points on the board.
On the double figures thing, yeah, that was super. That's what we needed. Moving into tonight, we had 5 guys in double figures. So, I mean, that's huge. If we get and honestly, like one of them was Trayvon, who 3 for 14 from the field's awful, but he went 10 for 10 from the line. That is huge. 5 assists, by the way. That's five assists. I'm not saying it's a season high for him, but it's got to be up there. And then the point I'm going to take away on is I don't know what went on with Bam today, but he only had 6 minutes and didn't score, only shot 1 shot. So, and I don't know. It's just a weird thing to me that his minutes varied like that.
Well, and if you recall, I think he got in some early foul trouble tonight, picking up 3 fouls pretty early. Which put him to the bench.
I don't remember that actually.
But I think one thing that may have decreased his minutes, even I noticed at the beginning of the second half, he wasn't in early in the beginning of the second half. But and this as much as anybody, one person that I've been probably the harshest on and was able to come back and play this weekend, Paul Joko. I put it in my recap on Norse Nation's page tonight. He was just a wonderful surprise tonight. Brought a lot of much needed energy on the defensive end, finished with 6 rebounds on his own. If this young man could put any semblance of an offensive game together, good Lord, that's another asset that we've got coming off the bench. But I think the energy that he brought tonight, I think Horn saw it. He stayed with it, and that's why he got maybe the minutes that Bam would have had otherwise. But I think ultimately, it was maybe that early foul trouble and just kind of took him out of the flow of the game. And then I think once he got replaced with Paul, I think Horn had to go with the hot hand, not so much from an offensive side, but from what he was doing defensively and rebounding the ball.
Yeah. Part of me, I mean, this is kind of my new philosophy here, my new theory. I think, and I mean, again, I could be wrong, probably am, but a lot of it, I think, is some of it's a chess match a little bit. Coaches obviously are not going to play guys that cannot fit and cannot work right now and like aren't doing well or whatever. They're not going to play guys they don't trust. But so obviously Joko did something to like gain their trust. But I also think a big reason he got so many minutes tonight could easily just be that like it's the last thing they would have expected. Robert Morris.
True.
Because I mean, like honestly, the guy was getting less minutes by a significant amount than two walk-ons were coming into this game. And even if you were going to dig into your bag if you're Horn because David Bam's in foul trouble, the scouting report, the tape will show that you're probably going with Harding or somebody. Mm-hmm. And so Joko coming out of left field playing starter minutes, playing more minutes than Bryson Langdon and Adrian Nelson tonight, is third most on the team, actually, is the last thing they would expect. So maybe that's got something to do with it too. I don't know. Yeah,
well, keep in mind, one of the things that was mentioned on the pregame radio show during the coaches interview portion of it, Jim Kelch had asked Coach Horn, hey, you just came off another close win, Friday night. You've got guys, starters mainly, that have played 30 minutes or more coming into tonight's game. Do you do anything differently in terms of how you look to play these guys? And Horn's response was no. He goes, we look to win the first game on Friday night, and then Saturday, we do what we have to do to get the second win. He mentioned that, if I see guys with some weak legs and, maybe you're getting gassed a little earlier, we'll do what we need to do. And again, maybe that was the case with Bam tonight. Maybe, with the minutes that he played Friday night, that maybe he had those weak legs. Again, he picked up the 3 fouls early and just maybe the flow wasn't there for him. But I do agree with you. I think Joko came out of left field. I think there would have been some other options, at least from an offensive standpoint, that maybe Horn may have looked to go to. But I've been a harsh critic of Joko so far this season, but I tell you, I will readily admit that I was very impressed with what he brought tonight. And again, if there can be any offense put into his game to where he can be a threat from the offensive end, again, it's just another addition that we can put in there as a threat.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Trey Robinson though, started tonight but got 2 minutes and was just off. Didn't go. I didn't notice. I didn't notice he went to the locker room or in street clothes or anything. And then you say, okay, fine. Like maybe he did something that the coaches absolutely hated. Get him out of the game. Play someone else. Whatever. Played 11 minutes yesterday as a starter. So what do we take away from this?
Well, I think maybe you hit on it during last week's show after the set of losses. Is much of what you've maybe taken away from conversations with those within the program or even outside the program is. When you have maybe less than stellar games on the defensive end of the ball, that those are going to be reasons to cost you minutes. And maybe this is the case with Trey, to where, he is getting the starting nod, but then once the game gets going, maybe his defensive performance isn't up to par, and he's being subbed out for maybe somebody that is bringing a little more energy on the defensive end of it. I've not noticed anything in terms of, offensive struggles. Doesn't look like he's trying to do too much.
Am I remembering this correctly? During yesterday's game, did he not airball a 3 like really bad?
Yeah. There was a pretty ugly shot there. I think maybe midway through the first half that he chucked up from deep, and it wasn't maybe the best option at that point in the game.
Strange. I mean, really, really weird because obviously, I think the consensus probably was out on Marcus Warwick, guy we're most excited about. For the freshman class, but I think a lot of people would have said Trey Robinson's probably number 2. And he seems to be having a bit of a regression period right now at a time where you really do not want to have one. Fortunately for him, he's a freshman and he's very athletic and talented, and there's plenty of time to work it all out. And the other good thing for him is, A, he doesn't probably listen to anything we have to say. And B, even if he does, we don't really know shit about any of this. So we're just speculating here. It could just be that the coaches were like, you twisted your ankle yesterday and walked through, so we're going to be careful with you. We don't know anything. Right. So I'm trying to figure out what I can. And I'm also not trying to sweat it too much. And I'm also trying to focus on the freaking positive because I want to today because I think we all deserve it. So with that being said, let's talk about this, the most unexpected surprise this year. Walk-on freshman Jake Evans. I like, if you would have told me that NKU would be unleashing a walk-on midway through the season, and unleashing them in a big way to where they're playing over a fourth or over 1/4 of the game. I mean, really closing in on almost half of the game from a minutes perspective. I would have said, oh, okay, so you're telling me Noah Hoopman is finally going to get some minutes, right? Because we need some size. Nope, it's the 6'1", 6-foot guard, 140 pounds soaking wet or whatever he is,
Right.
Jacob Evans. Like, I would have been like, yeah, okay. We talked about him a little bit, I think, on the last episode. Some of the things that have impressed us with him. And I think, like, one thing that I said was, I think we all agreed on it, was defensively, one of the biggest things that limits players from playing under Horn and getting those minutes, those key minutes, probably the reason Harding's not right now, is defensively. You got to know where you're at. You got to always be in position, head on the swivel, all that kind of stuff. Evans has not had any issues with that at all. In fact, he's been impressive on defense, always knowing where to be, telling people where to be. Tonight, we finally got to see some offense out of him too. And I don't want to go too crazy here. It's 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, or 4 points. 3 steals, obviously, on defense. Those numbers are like, if I've tweeted those numbers out and said, what a heck of a game, people would be like, dude, are you smoking right now? But like, knowing what we know, that is very impressive, and it's good to see that he's got offense.
No, definitely. I think, what you're saying is his confidence building. I think he's proven to himself, to your point, on the defensive end, he can do it. He can defend. He can cause some disruption on that side of the ball. He runs the offense very well when he's in there and he's subbing out Langdon, or he's in there with Langdon. I think he does a great job. I've been very impressed with his poise. Doesn't seem like he gets rattled very easily. One play in particular tonight, he had the ball at the top of the key. It was kind of like the parting of the Red Seas. He took it probably right inside the free throw line, hit a nice little 12, 13-footer jump shot. And, maybe a couple weeks ago when he was getting minutes, that would have never even been a thought on his mind. It would have been to dish out to the wing and let someone else take it. So,
did you see on that play, by the way, Mike, he called for that. Like, he basically got the ball back out and like called for the ball screen from Adrian Nell. It was a command, as commanding of the offense.
I think that goes to, his confidence building. But, again, this is something that, you take what you can get out of a walk-on, and, as long as his confidence continues to build, it's only going to benefit you in the long run. He's going to continue to get minutes. I think he's proven to the coaching staff, otherwise he wouldn't be in there as often as he has been in a lot of these games, that they feel comfortable and they don't fear putting him in the games. So I like what I've seen out of him. I don't really worry or freak out when I see him check in the game. I think he does a really adequate job, spelling some of these guys, for quick blows. And, again, much like Joko, if he can develop an offensive part of his game, again, another asset, to the team. Yeah.
You say you take what you can get out of a walk-on, as we all know from, as NKU fans all know, sometimes what you get is a top 20 scorer of all time, a top 10 3-point shooter of all time, and a top 15 steals of all time. And that would be a signal to Tyler Sharp, who, by the way, caught hold of our tweet about Jacob Evans tonight, and quote tweeted it and said, he's more advanced than I was coming out of high school. Love his game. #502. So
nice.
big. That's huge praise coming from an NKU
Definitely.
legend. Tyler Sharp, many fans will remember, obviously, transferred after his walk-on freshman season to NKU, where he was a walk-on at NKU under Brannon, playing his way into a role that season after a pretty tough non-conference schedule of his, not really figuring things out and all that. Got his shot, succeeded, and ended up becoming a scholarship player and one of the greatest NKU players of all time. So
definitely.
No one's I don't think anyone's projecting that onto Jacob Evans. I think that would be unfair to him to give him those expectations. But it is hard, considering all those things I just said, the similarities in some of their games, where he is compared to where Tyler says he was at this point in his career.
Right.
It's hard not to daydream about the possibilities. So we will be watching his progression very, very, very closely. Larry, Mike, before we sign off here, one more player I actually did want to talk about really quick from their performance tonight. And I always forget to circle back on this guy. I've been really, this is my Paul Joko. I've been very hard on him his entire career at NKU, which fortunately for him again, he probably doesn't even listen to what I have to say. Number one. Number two, it's been a short career so far. So, I haven't been berating him too long, but Adam Alita really showed up well tonight, and he performed very well today. And I am noticing when he's been out there this year, he's obviously been hurt. Today was coming off an injury. But this year he's done a much better job of integrating himself into the throws of the offense, top to bottom. And so I'm happy. I'm pleased with him this year. I don't care how well he shoots the rest of the season. If he continues to do that, then he at least poses some semblance of a threat on offense and provides us with something we need. So definitely. I just want to make sure I said that.
No, I'll take 12 points out of Alita every single night, every other night. I agree with you. I think, last year you were right. I think it was one of the baseline corners is where he ran to every offensive set. And if he got the ball, it was going up. If he didn't, it was trying to get a rebound and then go play defense. I agree with you. I think he has integrated himself more into the offense. When he is shooting the ball, it's not from the same locations. I recall one tonight where I think there was a long rebound. It came back, and Langdon kind of flipped it to him because Alita was standing right behind him. He didn't even second guess. I mean, he threw that baby up and hit nothing but net on that. And so I like to see that confidence from him. I think, if he can stay away from the injury bug, which, you mentioned that has hampered him this year a couple of times. I think if we can get some, good health out of him and some consistency, again, another added weapon to this, already somewhat potent offense when we're putting 3, 4, 5 guys in double figures. Again, if we can get, 8, 10, 12 points from Alita on a nightly basis, that's great.
Yeah. Well, and that's my thing is I don't even necessarily need points out of him every night. I really don't. I just need to know that someone else is there. It's sort of what I talked about in the last episode when we were talking about our flaws on defense this year. We need a back line that can be there for those guards when they're out pressuring the ball. And so with that, Alita's never let us down on defense. He's never been a liability on defense. It's when he's a liability on offense that he can no longer be out there to play defense to help us out there. And so him just being on offense and just being some sort of a factor, again, even if it's a decoy, I don't care. It allows him to then be there for us on defense to give Adrian Nelson some help on the back line that he desperately needs. And then it allows Bryson Langdon to come in and clean up the boards because we actually have a big body that can work on boxing out and clearing space for the guards to come in and rebound. So I just wanted to make sure I got that in on Adam because I tend to overlook him when he does well and focus on him when he does poor, and that's really not fair to him. So I wanted to make sure I got that out there. Mike, that's all I got, man. I don't know if you have any closing quick thoughts on this game and just anything in general.
Well, no, I think it's, again, 2 really nice wins on the road, ones that we badly needed coming out of a 4-game losing streak. The way that we were able to go about it, I was very impressed with. Again, 2 very close games, tonight being an overtime game, last night kind of going down to the last 90 seconds of the game, and just seeing the Norse doing what needed to be done to pull those 2 games out, I think is very encouraging. I think this can go a long way into their own confidence. But I think one thing that at least I kind of take away from this weekend is I'm starting to see certain players accepting the roles that they're being put in. I think early on, maybe when we were going through some struggles, everybody was maybe trying to get their own or maybe unsure of what was the expectation. And I think certain players are kind of accepting that, hey, this is my role on the team and this is what I'm going to strive to do the best. And if we can get that buy-in across the board, through the roster, it's only going to bode well for these remaining 6, 8 games in conference and give us some momentum. So I was very encouraged by these last 2 games. Again, I hope the momentum carries over into the set with UIC next weekend. And I would love nothing more than to take 2 more and sweep and have our own 4-game winning streak following a 4-game losing streak.
Yeah, I agree, man. On the one hand, I want us to sweep next week. On the other hand, I don't want us to keep winning too much. And just go on a run and win this year. Because if we win, I'll tell you right now, if we win the Horizon League championship this season, you talk about a spoiled fan base.
You never apologize for winning, Kyle.
I know. I end up thinking way too far ahead, man. And I'm like, and then I just think the first down year we have, we are going to lose everyone. But hey, yeah, you're right. You'll take a win no matter what the cost is. So, Mike, I appreciate you again staying on late. More so, I appreciate your wife for letting you join.
She knows I'm eating up with this, so she doesn't care.
Yeah, no doubt. My girlfriend's working tonight, so I am not I have no obligations. So, all right, man. Well, I'm gonna finish the rest of this beer, and I'm gonna go to bed with a smile on my face tonight.
I will as well, my friend.
All right, take it easy, man.
You too, Kyle. Take care.